This video is brought to you by Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business.
Alright, so, your video, you tell me what you want to do. Alright.
Hi, my name is Ben Pate from Woolby Design, and today I'm going to show you how to cut dovetails using skateboards. So a couple weeks ago, I went up to Santa Barbara and I got to hang out with man of the hour, one of my favorite YouTubers, Mr. Jonathan Casmos.
Jonathan gatos Moises en español.
I don't know what he said. Now, when I was up there, I got a personal lesson on how to tune up my bandsaw for resawing. And since I was up there, I thought might as well get a personal lesson on how to cut dovetails using this jig. I tried my best to get a video out of it as well, but I got so caught up on learning how to cut dovetails that I did a really poor job of filming it. And since Jonathan Casmoses has a bunch of tutorials on his channel, I thought I would make this video about what I learned when I was visiting him and how I could simplify it so that even a beginner like me could cut perfect dovetails like this. This is my first one, and this is my second one. Either I'm that good, or this jig is really that easy to use. Let's get started. First, here's what you need. You're going to need a square lumber Casmoses dovetail jig, Japanese pull saw, marking gauge, really sharp chisel, marking knife, a mallet, what is this? Scroll saw? Coping saw. And you should really check this out as well. This is the alignment board by Casmoses. He sells it on his website. I'll leave a link down in the description below. Now, once you have your straight lumber, you want to mark it so that you don't get confused. So you want to mark the outside of your lumber with either tails or pins. Once you have your pins and tails marked, you want to start off with tails first.
A very small portion of people say pins first, but they are wrong and they are terrible human beings.
Use a marking gauge and establish how deep you want the pins and tails to go.
I like to set it a little bit wider than my board because when you put them together at the end, you're gonna have a little bit sticking over. So that way when you sand your piece, that's gonna flush them up perfectly. You really don't want it to be under because then you have to sand off the whole board as opposed to just a little bit of tails or pins.
Okay, once you're happy with it, go ahead and mark your lines. And for the tails, you're gonna mark all the way around, and for the pins, you don't have to do the sides. Now, in order for you to figure out how big your tails are going to be, you need to figure out how thin you're going to cut your pins. Now, according to Jonathan Casmoses,
I personally think that small pins look better.
So, I'm going to be cutting my pins at 1/8 of an inch, and let me show you how to mark those. Grab your tail piece, go ahead and mark 1/8 inch in from the outside, and grab one of these dividers, and depending on how many numbers of tails you want to divide this distance by that number. I'm going to have 3 tails, so I'm going to divide this distance by 3. Now, once you know your right distance, go ahead and mark those lines and just puncture a little bit of holes so that you know exactly where it is, and start it from the other side as well and mark those lines. Once you have your holes from the divider, you want to use a marking gauge and a square to mark a line so you know exactly where you're going to cut it. And make sure to mark your waist so you know exactly which side of that line that you're going to be cutting. Now, these Japanese pull saws have an offset on their tooth.
Anything as thin as this Japanese saw is going to have a tooth set to it, which is how waste is removed from the kerf of your cut. And so they stick out further than the saw, so it's really important that you're cutting on the right side of your line and not just trying to cut your line. There's an actual side to the saw.
And take your time cutting these and make sure you're not going over the line. Using the same jig, cut the ends off from this tail piece. Okay, once you have your outside pins removed, you also have to remove the inside pins. Use a chisel, go slowly, you should be able to chip that out. Okay, so once you have your tails all cleaned up, you're going to use the tails to mark the pins. And I'm using this alignment board by Jonathan Casmoses, and it's gonna help a lot with aligning these pins so that I can mark the pins at its exact point. And make sure to mark the waist so you're not cutting on the wrong side of the line. Now, once you have your pins marked, same thing. We're going to be cutting it. Go slow and make sure you're cutting it on the right side of the line. Okay, once you have your pins cut, same thing. You're gonna have to remove the tail using the coping saw and clean it up with a chisel. Okay, once you clean it off, check the fit and see if it's a tight fit and do any kind of final adjustments according to it. And if there's slight gap, don't worry about it. When you put glue and a little bit of sawdust, it's gonna cover everything up. Okay, so while these are drying out, I want to take this time to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Squarespace. Just like cutting dovetails, building a website can be intimidating, but with a little bit of practice and the right tool, it's really not that hard. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. They also have award-winning design templates, which allows you to customize them to fit your style as well as your professional needs. You can even purchase your domain directly from Squarespace, and I recommend you doing this as soon as possible because someone else might take your domain. With just a little bit of practice, I built my own website in just a couple hours. So check out squarespace.com for a completely free trial and get a little bit of practice in. And once you're ready to make a website, go to squarespace.com/Wobie and save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thanks, Squarespace. Okay, so here it is. Dovetails cut on recycled skateboard materials. And since I learned how to tune up the bandsaw and get a better re-sawing out of these recycled skateboard materials, I used different patterns and got really crazy results. And I really don't know which one's my favorite, so you tell me. I don't know. I want to give a special thanks to Mr. Jonathan Katz Moses for making this jig and just teaching us how to cut dovetails in a really simple way. It's super simple. These are my first 5 tries and it's pretty damn good. It's good. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. Check out the link down in the description below so you can check out all these tools that I use. And special thanks to Squarespace for making this video happen. And if you want to make a website the easy way, check out squarespace.com/Wobie and save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.